Planet Vero Studio is powered by the Nolan Group of eXp Realty. She is a beauty influencer from New York City who commands attention.
He is a lawyer born and raised in Florida who lays down the law.
And together they are the Lady and the Law. Here are your hosts of The Lady and the Law, Cindy Grossman and Mitchell Goldman.
Welcome, Cindy.
Hello,
Welcome,
Mitch.
Jesse. How you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Doing great.
Doing well. Great. Well, great. We have a special guest today,
Great.
a new attorney with our firm.
Excellent.
Her name is Katie Rallo. Katie, say hello.
Hi.
Katie is a native Floridian. She went to college at Florida Atlantic University, studied criminal justice and psychology. I think she uses that on some of the attorneys in the office to get what she wants sometimes. Maybe her husband every now and then, but we won't tell him. She went to law school in New England, practiced in New England, decided the snow is not what she wants, came back here to Florida, to Brevard County, to be with her family, practiced with the state attorney's office, and now she's with our firm.
The public defender's office.
Public defender. I'm sorry. Public defender. And now she's with our firm.
Yes, sir.
We're very lucky to have her. Katie practices in criminal law area, family law, and also personal injury.
Excellent.
Today, we are going to talk about, with the time that we have, family law. I don't envy Katie having to do family law. I always analogize it to it's the worst time in people's life, and they're good people at their worst time. And it's a very emotional time. It's a breakup. You have your relationship is broken, and it affects not only you and your soon-to-be ex-spouse, but children, family members. It's very difficult, but it's necessary because sometimes people just shouldn't be together anymore.
Right.
So
That is true.
Yes, and it's very hard. It's sad, but sometimes it's just necessary that people move on. They're not meant to be together anymore.
Absolutely.
So what we wanted to do is we wanted to talk with the time that we have, because it's a very broad topic,
right,
about what the process is, what it isn't, and then we'll have some questions about more specific topics. But let's talk about what people call an amicable divorce, or a friendly divorce, or something like that, whatever you want to call it, Katie. Non-contested divorce. What is that? What is that mean?
Uncontested, yeah.
Uncontested.
Yeah. It's the unicorn. It does exist. Every once in a while, two people are in the relationship and they can just kind of look at each other and decide this isn't going to work. That is an uncontested dissolution of marriage. You can also have, even if you're not married, you can have an uncontested, it's called a paternity, which is when you have children together, but you need to go ahead and get a parenting plan in place after you've had these children together and you're moving forward. If you agree on everything, and it has to be an agreement literally on everything, but if you agree on everything, then you really only even need the one attorney can draft up all the paperwork per your agreement. If it's a dissolution of marriage, what you're dividing in your property. If it's for children, what is your timeshare going to be? What is your custody going to be? How often are you going to see the kids? What are the vacation schedules? Those are the harder ones to have in a completely uncontested one, is when there's children. However, if you can get through it and everybody does agree, it's by far, it's the best on all the parties. Emotionally, it's the best on all the parties. It's the fastest, because all you need to do is to prepare the documents, come up with your agreement, know exactly what you're dividing. What are you doing with your retirement? What are you doing with the couch? Who gets the dog? Who gets, everything. it all comes down to how you're going to divide it up. I once did a dissolution of marriage up in Connecticut, and I think we spent almost 2 years over who was going to get custody of the bird. And I think the husband taught the bird how to say stuff about the wife, and then like they were sharing custody of the bird. At the end of the day, your pets, nobody ever wants to hear it, but the pets are personal property. So the pets just go into a personal property category, and you've got to divide that up too. But if you can, you fall into this beautiful category of uncontested. You draft up all the documents and you submit it to the court. When everything is submitted to the court and everything, all your ducks are in a row, you submit the final judgment, and then you get to go your separate ways. Doesn't mean that everything's done forever. You can modify or hold someone in contempt later if something in the agreement doesn't go right. But for the most part, that is the cleanest way to part ways.
It seems like the cleanest way, the less consequences for children, for the post breakup relationship, and it's also the least expensive way to terminate the marriage.
Right.
It's for sure the least expensive way. I mean, you don't even need two attorneys in the agreement. The person who comes to, let's say the person comes to me, that person can pay my bill. I can draft everything. Both parties have a right to have an attorney and have everything reviewed by an attorney, but you don't have to front that hourly that just accrues over and over and over again. And we'll talk about that in the contested portion, but it's definitely the easiest way to get through a dissolution. You just unfortunately, rarely do you see it when you've got children involved.
Now, if the parties are in substantial agreement on issues, but they can't, say, resolve certain issues regarding maybe the children or financial matters, can they still do it as an uncontested divorce as to those issues, or it doesn't quite lend itself?
No. Unfortunately, if you've got a disagreement as to any part of the separation, it goes into the contested category. It doesn't mean that it has to be a messy contested. It can still be a fairly straightforward contested where all you really need to do, if your disagreement is over the parenting plan, you go to mediation, or you take the parenting class, and afterwards maybe you guys are able to come to some sort of an agreement that way, and then you're still not racking up all the bills. But at that point it does become a contested dissolution or paternity.
So when it's contested, you still have an option to see a mediator, correct? Yes.
When it's contested, you almost always see a mediator, yes.
Oh,
when
okay.
it's uncontested, you do not. When it's uncontested, you draft up those paperwork and you go to the court one time to enter that final judgment.
Okay.
So usually in a contested setting, tell us the areas that are, litigated or typically at issue.
Well, you had the parrot, so it can be as small as small as that, or it could be as contentious as everything. Who gets the couch? Who gets the house? Are we going to sell the house? Are we going to keep the house? Am I going to refinance the house and keep the house and buy you out? Your pension, your retirement, alimony, child support. Child support's not as complicated as a lot of people make child support out to be. Child support is a computation. It's a program. You put all the numbers into the program, out spits a number of what is owed based on all of the numbers and the factors that you put in. There are a ton of factors that go into play for child support, though.
And how about alimony? Things of that. How long do parties have to be married in order for one spouse to qualify for alimony? We hear a lot about that.
So it depends. It's typically in the longer term marriages, and how much alimony you get is based on how long you were married for. All of that, all of it is case specific. So there's not a set number, but the long term marriage is when you would be entitled to it.
So long term, 10 years. Is that a good break point, for example?
That's when you're going to start seeing it, when you get to the 10-year mark. You're not going to see it in the 2-year marriages, and where a lot of people have a hard time with it is, oh, well, we've been dating for 12 years, but we've only been married for 2. Well, you don't qualify.
Right.
But there's a lot of factors that go into it.
And isn't there a law in Florida you have to, if you do have to pay alimony, it's till the death of the spouse?
Not necessarily. That's one of the factors. So that's what it depends on. It depends on the ability to pay, the need of the other party, how long were you married? If you're married and someone else comes into the picture for any reason, like let's say you remarry, your alimony, you no longer need that support. So you can go in, and that's when the modifications really start flying. Is you see it very frequently with the alimony, especially. You see it with the child support, but the child support's really a computation. Alimony is one where you've got a little more wiggle room.
I want to ask you some other questions when we get back about visitation and other topics. But we need to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
The law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine is here to help you with your personal legal challenges, business needs, and real estate matters. Since 1984, we have assisted countless numbers of Florida individuals and businesses with their legal issues, from trusts and estates, wills, real estate, and civil or criminal litigation. We pride ourselves on maintaining lifelong client relationships and would appreciate the opportunity to assist you and your family as well. Please call 321-639-1320 for further information on the law offices of Goldman, Monahan, Tucker, and Bettine. I'm a non-attorney spokesman.
Don Baker, a blind young man, moved into his own apartment against the wishes of his overprotective mother. Jill Tanner, the free-thinking woman next door, takes a liking to him and his spotless apartment. As they begin a closer relationship, Don's mother enters to help her son navigate his new life. Butterflies Are Free is a funny, touching, and emotional play about the risks that go with loving someone. Don't miss Butterflies Are Free, October 25th through November 13th at Riverside Theater. Get tickets at riversidetheater.com.
Sunshine Furniture brightens up your day.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats, and chairs, including lots of slipcover styles from Universal, Four Seasons, and Capri. We also have a gallery of Tommy Bahama and Lexington with styles designed for a relaxed approach to the finer things in life. We're having a fall sale with lots of great markdowns, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Family owned and operated since 1991. Don't forget to visit our outlet and closeout store directly across the street and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day.
Don't miss the Sebastian Clam Bake, November 4th, 5th, and 6th. The Sebastian Clam Bake, known for high-quality food like linguine with clam sauce, succulent shrimp, clam chowders, steamed clams, and traditional festival food. Plus, historical reenactments, a kid zone, and some of the area's best bands, demonstrations, and vendor booths. Take a stroll by the river, enjoy fresh seafood. Admission is free. The Sebastian Clam Bake, November 4th, 5th, and 6th, by the river, next to Riverview Park. Details at sebastianclambake.net.
Need an enlightening pick-me-up? Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy to energize your skin and keep it looking fabulous forever. Kristen can help with hair removal, sugaring to keep your whole body smooth and conditioned. Kristen will help you refresh and defend your skin while giving you a customized facial. Cindy helps skinergize and get you camera ready for your everyday look or special occasion. Visit Kristen and Cindy at Skinergy. Find them on Facebook under the Skinergy Squad.
And we're back. The lady in the law. You know who the lady is, and I'm the law.
Okay.
So, and we have two ladies today. We're
That's
lucky,
right.
Jesse.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Absolutely.
Katie, let's continue to talk a little bit about visitation with children. It's sad. I think that's the saddest part of all of family law, is and an area that a lot of attorneys really or I don't blame them, but it's an area that they have to deal with. How does a court decide how visitation should work? Who gets the children during the week, the weekend, the holidays, custody? How should that work in theory?
In theory, Everything is in the best interest of the children. It always is going to come back. Yeah. And it's always going to come back to what is best for them. How are they best well established? What is in their best routine? The 50-50 split truly is trying to get both parents involved and both parents participating in the children's lives and seeing the children, but also keeping the children on their routine and not interrupting their school schedule, their sports schedule, and things like that.
If you have a situation where one parent is required to pay, or maybe they're not married, is required to pay child support, and that parent doesn't pay child support, does that impact their right to see the children?
No, it does not. They still get their custody. It's not the child's fault. Ultimately, what can happen, though, that a lot of people don't understand is you can get a warrant for lack of paying your child support. That's not an immediate turnaround. The person seeking the support has to go and file the action and get that going before the child support agency will be able to track you down. But eventually, I mean, you get into a debt that you can't get out of, and they'll hold you for a purge. And they'll take you into custody. That was one of the things, especially when I was working with the public defender's office. We would go to initial appearances, and I was amazed at how many people were going and getting picked up on child support purges.
And then if they're in jail, they're not able to work, and they're not able to pay the child support
or see the child.
So right. So I think because I was always really confused by it as a criminal attorney, that got me to my core of like, well, how does he post bond? And they're like, he doesn't. Either he pays what he owes, or he waits the 3 days to go in front of a judge, and the judge comes up with his repayment schedule as well as what he owes on a regular week schedule. So if I say he, it could be a she, but whoever owes the money on that weekly schedule, they will have to pay not only that, but they'll have to pay the additional part too. They may, but that's the problem with family. There is no set rule. I can't tell you, it's not like with criminal. I can tell you when I walk into that courtroom exactly what's going to happen. Family is not that way. It's more of a courtroom of equity of what is fair, but you rarely get what's fair. What you really want to look for when you have children is what's in their best interest. And I think the hardest one that I've read and I've done most of my research on is the relocation. Let's say one parent gets an amazing job and is moving out of state. What do you do? And they've got to file the motion and their notice of intent to relocate and all of that. And it's hard. And then it comes down to the judge to make that decision of is this in the best interest of the child, where the child's only going to see the other parent when she has to be flown home to see that other parent, or, who bears that cost? So there's a lot that goes with relocation, especially.
Now, even after the parties are divorced, and let's say it was a contested divorce and a property settlement agreement was reached or decided upon by the judge, visitation, alimony, there's still a possibility, even years later, that those agreements or that final judgment can be changed. How does that work?
So modifications, you've got to show a significant change in circumstances from the original agreement. So either one person at the time of the dissolution of marriage, if you've got children and you came up with your computation of which parent owed what, one parent was making significantly less, but now they're making quadruple their salary. That's a significant change. And you can go back in to get a modification of who owes what and how much and for how much, how long. The same goes for alimony as well. But it's got to be a significant change in circumstances to warrant a modification. You see the modification changes most frequently with the time sharing. One parent wants the kids more, one parent wants them less. You've got to kind of, it's hard from the judge's perspective because you're trying to weed through, does this parent really want to see them, or does this parent just want to cut their child support costs? Because child support, the more often you see the child, the less you've got to pay because you're 60-40 versus something like that. So, there's a lot of circumstances that go into a modification, and even the final judgment the original judgment. You can also have afterwards the post judgment. You've got the contempt. Someone's not following what they were supposed to do. You can always file the contempt motions.
I think the judges have a really hard time figuring out, what is in the best interest of the children. I applaud them for their efforts, and I know sometimes their evaluations done by psychologists or counselors, and the judges read those and they're supportive. With the time that we have left, I wanted to ask another question, a little bit different. What are the rights of grandparents in Florida? Is that something that you've run across? I understand they're very restricted.
They're very restricted. I've gotten it. I've come across it a few times. Most of my experience with that so far has been in Connecticut, and in Connecticut there really were no grandparent rights. Down here, a grandparent can try, but they don't really have that many rights either, unless the other parent, not grandparent, the other parent has passed away or something like that, and they're trying to get visitation. But if both parents are up and kicking, then grandparents don't really have any rights in that scenario.
That seems kind of harsh. I couldn't imagine not being able to see your grandparents.
Right.
But sometimes
so they can file motions. They just aren't really. There's not a lot of legs to those motions.
That's sad.
And I agree with you.
Yeah, the whole process. I think you've given us a good insight. The more that the husband and wife or the spouses can agree, then it's better for them financially, emotionally. It's better for the children in the long run. It's less expensive for costs and attorney's fees if they can. If they can't, then that's what you do.
Yeah, if it's amicable and the two want to get divorced, but if it's a situation where, he caught her or she caught him, I mean, unfortunately, it does tend to get ugly, that's for sure.
When those emotions rise, and I always say it's hard to guess, because you pay your attorney a retainer fee. And well, is that all that it's going to cost me, or is it going to cost beyond that? You don't know. It truly depends on the other party. It depends on emotions. How rational can you be and tuck your emotions aside and say, okay, this is probably how this is going to shake out. Even after 5 years of mediation, this is where we're going to end up. So we might as well do it now. But it also depends on opposing counsel on the other side. If you've got an opposing counsel on the other side who is just going for those billable hours, or who is difficult and not working towards a resolution, but rather, aggressive in the entire case. I mean, aggressive is a good thing, but it's also, in these types of cases, it can hinder your resolution, and that for sure drags it out.
Katie, if someone has a question or wanted to talk to you further about something that we spoke about today, could you please give them your phone number and your email address?
Absolutely, yeah. My email address is Katie, Katie, @gmtblaw.com. And you can reach me on my cell phone at 860-371-6343.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show.
Thank you.
And a lot of great information and your insights.
Yes, thank you.
In this topic. So thank you. Oh, and by the way,
thank you. It was wonderful.
Katie is a Packer fan, and at the taping today, I forgot to say the Jets are going to beat the Packers because it's my team. So we may not be talking after that, but we'll see.
Oh no! We'll see how this week plays out for us.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.